Welcome to Universal Truths. This is Mark Elliott Fultz coming to you from WBHMDB in beautiful downtown Birmingham, Alabama, and talking to you tonight from my beautiful little haunted store in Pea Ridge Flea Market, space 29, Gypsy Moon, and we also have a haunted parking lot. I'll tell that story as we go. Uh, so in this store, when I was painting it, I don't know what they built on top of, but it's a unique space. So I'm always attracted to haunted things. So what else? So this is inside of my store, of course, and I love the colors and the chakra lighting and all this. So I hope you get a kick out of it as well. Oh, I hope everyone had a good Memorial Day weekend. I did. I certainly did. And now I'm back to getting back to work, getting things done. And tonight, of course, people who are just starting to check in with me and don't know who I am. If this is your first time, this is Universal Truth. I do this with through Kate Hobson, Kat Hobson. I don't mean to say Kate. Sorry, Kat. And I'm old. Kat Hobson, and through WBHMDB, and I've been doing this I think almost 2 years, which is kind of crazy. Of course, we're just now doing it where it's video. It has been radio, and I definitely have a face for radio. So I'm having fun doing the videos. So I hope you do too. Now, I cover subjects from Anunnaki, alienish stuff, love ghost stories, tell ghost stories. I'm a ghost investigator, I'm a metaphysician, I'm a channeler and medium, and I create communication boards and devices that I think haven't been done yet. I'm developing those, and I'll cover those in some of my shows upcoming. And I have, I just say, I talk about anything metaphysical. There's plenty of things in regular life that are metaphysical. I think when people think metaphysics, they think woo or out there or wookie woo, and everything has a basis in energy. Everything has a basis in a concrete basis sometimes in just energy around us, the functioning of our lives, what we do, what we create, how we are, how we react, and what we think. So it's not so much supernatural as super normal. And I love a thing from the 80s I remember where this little Irish couple, a brother and sister in a haunted castle, were saying, um, you come and visit someone on Wednesday and they love you and hug you, and Friday you die, and Saturday you come back as a ghost, and or you come back to see them and they scream and say, a ghost. So, I tried to make demystify the idea of death a little, to take out the fear maybe of it, if at all possible. And so we talk death, we talk ghosts, we talk human issues, we talk anything that comes to mind. Last time I did Lincoln's Ghost, so now today we're going to talk about the lessons I learned from death. And to those just clicking in, of course, I talk about this every show. Um, I was murdered 32 years ago, came back from it, and it expanded my consciousness. And so I use it all the time because I learned so many things with it. I think it helps explain things for me. And when I'm explaining it to other people, I think it helps them. And then I'm also working on The Psychic Worm Stitch, which will be a book that will go into how I think all this works. So I'm working on it. But so tonight is going to be the lessons I learned from death, that death taught me. You would think life would be your lessons, but I've learned so much from those who've gone before me, my experience, the the interactions I've had with the dead and dying, and speaking with spirits, speaking with people, dealing with pets, and dealing with their unconditional love and their awareness and consciousness and connections to us. Um, so I'm going to kind of go in that direction today. So there is no script, there is no, it's just going to be. I'm just going to talk to you from my heart, from um, my experience, and hopefully let the consciousness flow. And see, like here, there's a good example um, of life after death. We have an experience here. This you can't tell by looking at. This is a little. This little store has like a roll-up door, and it's in what used to be a storage place, and now it's a strip of a flea market. And but so when you're here, this door is up, and which I love. During when it's raining or storming, or the breeze is great in spring and fall, fabulous. Summer, not so much. I'm not as big of a fan as feeling like a potato wrapped in aluminum foil. But the gush for fans. But I have an experience here, and other people who've been here, older timers, knew about it. But people come and go, and come and go and go, come and go. So we're near the highway 90 in Pace and Milton, and there was a person who got killed several years ago up the street on 90 on the highway, and they would cut across apparently and come here. So when they were killed, their spirit just came back through the parking lot. So when I first started in this space, um, and I was painting it, and I was here real late at night in August last year, and you know when I talk about our auras, that start from the third eye, have the magnetite iron in it, that helps our magnetic field. Well, your aura comes out the top of your head, and goes around you in a sphere, and so your little sphere will pick up other energies and spirits that are out of the body. They're in a sphere, an aura, electromagnetic field. So when I died, from my expansion from when I died and came back, you become more aware of things, whether they're seen or unseen, coming into contact with your aura. And I would feel this very strange feeling every so often when I was closing up at night and going into the parking lot to my car, you'd feel this strange something going by, and at the time I was busy. I tried not to really look at it. I thought, well, we'll deal with it later. So, what it was like, and it was before I knew about the person being killed and their ghosts. People sometimes see the ghost sees the person come through the parking lot, and they'll kind of, it's real faint, or you'll see it and it kind of fades out, but it's just you're aware. I see it through my aura, which is more of a CAT scan when it happens, but I feel it more. And the way I would explain it, it's if you were in a pool by yourself at night with your eyes closed, and someone you can't see that you didn't see get in the pool, they swim past you underwater about 3 or 4 feet away from you. And without seeing them, you feel that movement. And to me, that's how I detect it. I feel that movement. When it goes through the parking lot, I feel that. It's like that pressure in the water. I just feel something's gone past me. And it's not aware enough to do anything about it or stop it and say, hey, wake up, you know, quit doing it. Go, transition, go into somewhere else. Um, so it's more of almost a recorded energy, but when it goes by, it's enough. If you see it, it's just like a blur. But it just he walks across, or they walk across the parking lot, going toward the back wherever it was they camped, or like a street person. So, or so it's very unique, very unusual. But that's one of those things. It's like. I sense things a lot. And but I've gotten to where as I get older, I turn down my little tuner so I don't have to deal with everything. Because if you're too open, you sense too many things, and sometimes, it gets to be a waxy buildup and overload. If something gets my attention, I'll look at it. If I need to go in a place and do something, I'll prepare before that and be open and aware and have my everything turned up to high. So, but that's a unique thing. But that also is like, it's life going on after life. It's not a living person going through. The spirit is alive, but if somebody else saw it, it might weird them out. And but I find it fascinating because it's like we just have so many layers and fluid we live in, and things passes all the time, and we sense and feel something, but we don't always know what we're looking at. They may not even be aware we're here. Most of the time, most of them are not, and the ones that are, then they sometimes will let us know, or sometimes we just accidentally see them and they accidentally see us, because we're a different frequency. They're a different frequency. Now they're a higher frequency sometimes because they have no meat pie to go through any, it's just the electromagnetic field holding their plasma form in shape and together. And so it can be frequency, it can be, um, higher or lower depending upon the person and the experience and the problems. And we're thicker material, so we don't always pick up that high frequency right off. We'll pick up bits and pieces, or we get a feeling about it because our aura picks up that frequency, processes it through our solar plexus, where your axon cord goes through, where your the umbilical cord used to go. And we get that gut feeling. We're sensing something, but we don't know what. So the dead are around us all the time. And things that are not dead, they just aren't us. They're not in this physical state, or they're not in this level of layer of the dimension, or um they're just not in our processing field to where we can go, oh, there's George. You know, we don't see it, but they're there. And just an amazing the unseen world around us, and it just because, and for us, we're so important, self-important. We go, if we don't see it and understand it, it doesn't exist. Well, sister and brother, let me tell you, there's plenty of things we don't see. So, metaphysical people understand it and accept it, and it's no big deal. And we pack our lunch and keep and go on to work. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah. It's not a big deal in the long word, in the long journey, but it is interesting. It always adds something to my life. you know, uh, I just have, and I've collected so many haunted things, and so many haunted things have come to me because I magnetize that I like those things, and so they come to me in odd ways. And I take joy in all of it. And there's people who just freak out. My cousin will just absolutely would freak out if I brought my haunted quilt over to her house, or if I brought one of my haunted dolls. She would absolutely have a cow. And see, to me, it gives me a hoot to go, oh, I'd like to put this on your bed so it could talk to you at night. I'm evil. I'm evil. But anyway, but we have fun, you know, about it. But it's pretty funny. Um, but that's one. The person passing through here is just one example, and in a place you wouldn't expect it. It's in a flea market. Uh, and the houses everybody's living in, in the Victorian time, people before funeral homes, people would have the funeral service in their home and then just go to the church and bury them. But they would show the person at home in their parlor, and people would die at home. Now we have hospitals, and people for a long time would die in the hospital, go to the funeral home. Now a lot of people, because of hospice, um, are starting to die at home again. So you don't know, if somebody's died in your home, or if they're looking for people who were there living when they died and they come back home, to visit, and you're there, they don't know where everybody is. So just a little bit of that, you never know where you're going to experience a phantom experience, an impression, a full on apparition, any of that, any of it. I've been in houses and homes and buildings that they weren't what they were, used to be, but the energy was there. And, you go in and it's like reading a book. And you go, ooh, why is that person over there, kind of thing. So it's a lot of fun. All right, let me kind of gather my thoughts. The lessons that death taught me. I'll have to go through a little bit of um, how I became aware of death. Well, when I was my consciousness, awakened when I was 18 months old. I know the time that it was around. My mother's sister, Martha, had died. And because of my mother being in such distress, because she would go off the rails, when people she loved died, um, it kind of brought my consciousness to the surface. And so I knew something had happened. It was like feeling that tremor. And it was during the process my mother was upset and mourning and around the funeral kind of thing. And I just remember from that moment on, it like turn the key on, turn the key, opens the door. And so my awareness came to the forefront because of a death of someone that I did care for. I remember her and her essence and her love, and Aunt Martha. I didn't always know what the whys of death, but I knew it meant you went away. And so from there on, then the next person was a person I was very close to that was a neighbor. And I was still in that area. He died in like 65, so I was like 3. And my sister would go and visit this little couple, German couple, down the road. And I think his name was George, a little bald-headed guy who, the husband, my sister just loved them. And I was 3, so she was 5, almost 5. And they just thought she was like their daughter they never had. And she would bring me around, and he loved to play with me and stuff, and I loved him. And the night he died, we'd been over there. I was like, kind of a little wild at that, 3, grabbing things and do so. He thought it was hysterical. He was trying to shave while holding me, kind of thing, and laughing and his wife going, "You shouldn't let him do that," whatever, And I was being a little, picking up things, doing whatever, but I was very young. Um, but he loved it. He loved children. But that night he worked on a railroad, and that night he went to work and he died from a heart attack. And I knew when someone died, they went away. This For some reason I wasn't distraught over that kind of thing. I kind of felt like, I hadn't really lost them. I just couldn't see them. So, and then the next one, an uncle that I loved, when he died, I was like 6 this time. And it was the first time I got to go to a funeral home. And I loved Uncle Tubby. He was adorable to me. And I went up and did a little prayer because I knew it did a little, kind of a down, lay me down. Now I lay me down to sleep kind of thing because I knew he wasn't asleep. When they would tell me that, oh, they're asleep, that disturbed me. I thought, no, no, they're going to bury him. He's not asleep. He's dead. But I had some kind of, I didn't have quite the understanding, but I knew, but not the way other people knew. So, where I started to really got my lessons from death, my first experiences of devastation would be my pets, because as a child, I didn't have a good childhood, like a lot of people don't. And my cousin made mine look like it was, I looked like Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm compared to my cousin. because she had a hideous father. But I had a very rough childhood, rough. And the only really little friends I had when I was little, or any comfort or connection, were my pets. And since, I have to say it, my father, since he really, to put it in perspective, my mother my mother wanted a girl when she got pregnant. Um, my father didn't want another child. They already had their boys. They already had a girl. He didn't want another one, and he had a way to taking care of that. So she bypassed that, and because he would have pushed her down the steps, like he did the first time, and she knew he would do that. So she made sure he went to work and came back. I know I've told this story before. But when he went to work, that she had a friend come get her and took her to, she wanted to make sure it was her last chance to have a girl. And when she had me, she pitched a horrible fit. And actually, she couldn't take medicines. And in the 60s, they jagged you up and you didn't know what happened. But she was so mad. My father they had a baby book, and he was sitting there writing. He thought that was a hoot. Because she was mad and she'd crying her pitching a fit and wouldn't hug me, wouldn't hold me, wouldn't look at me. Came in, said, what you gonna name him? It's a boy. And, they had a name. I was gonna be Matthew. And she said, name him Mark Elliott, damn it, and leave me alone. So I'm named after a dead radio announcer. But she got attached to me somewhat later. She was okay later. Because I wasn't really any trouble. I really was a happy baby. But the other ones were, you had to dance on the griddle all the time, and they were like that their whole lives. They just like that. So, but because I wasn't what they wanted or needed, I didn't, and I didn't have anyone who gave a damn. Now everything had to look alright on the outside. Because that's the 60s and 70s, it's like it better look good. Don't let anyone know what's going on. But the inside, the creepy crunchy coating covered the creepy crunchy center. And people thought it looked great. Um, but it wasn't. And I didn't have any little friends, didn't have anybody who cared about me. And my pets were the only thing I could connect with. And I learned they were unconditional. There was no "I'll love you if." They just loved you. They either loved you or didn't. And I just embraced that. And so, and my father didn't like that I was gentle or sweet and fragile because I was disabled. Um, and I've said this before, he was from a school, the old school, where if you were disabled, now my sister had disabilities. She was having seizures, but he was all right with that. But when it was to me, he thought disabled children should be killed at birth. And so he felt like he was justified, and he would have pushed my mom down the steps and it would have been a good thing. And so, he fostered an environment where he liked for things to happen to me because I kind of paid for them being unhappy, him being unhappy. They felt like somebody had to pay for that. And if anyone could do anything to me and hurt me or to make me tough to get me out of being sweet and gentle and squeaky and um the better. So the deaths I would have of my pets. Now, my sister, he wouldn't do it to her pets, but he would kick mine, hurt them. I'm sure his mother killed several of our pets. He just would be evil. But when I was about 10, I had this very sweet little cockapoo, and she was pregnant. Now, they didn't believe in spending $10 on a pet. Now, they bought my sister a dog. My little dog was a little street dog, but I love that dog. Her name was Patches. So Patches had her first pregnancy, and she was very close to having, and her water broke, and my father kicked her because he was mad that, you know, um, he wanted to hurt me and to hurt her, he liked to hurt animals. And so he kicked her, and she had the baby, but it died, born dead, and she dragged it under my bed. Um, he's very lucky because I was a very sweet little child, but I was plotting that mother's death. I mean, we had enough guns in the house to make us Mexican style, I wanted to go shoot him. Um, the cruelty of it, and that was a baseline. There was a lot more cruel things than that ever happened, but that was pretty damn cruel. And I had I really had a connection with cats. So I had cats and pets and things. Um, and I remember one that was a very special kitty, and she had kittens. And when they got what they called cat scratch fever back in the 70s, and they died from it. I guess it was the early days of um, the cat leukemia, I think. It was something, but the kittens didn't live very long, but I was really attached to them. And when they died, I just couldn't quit crying. And he wanted to just, he would tell me he wanted to blow my face off. So he hated that I would cry over my pets. But the reason I would is because they were the only things that loved me. They were the only things that gave me any comfort. And when they were gone, I just was bereft. And there were no people giving me any of that. If they had, I would have globbed onto them. I would have loved them to death. But there was no one that wanted to accept that love or to accept it. So I became afraid of death because every time one of the animals died or the people died that I loved, then I was losing, and it caused very deep depression. Um, and it made it very hard for me to remember the happier things and to be happy after a while, which I've learned in my older life. Because you can ruin your happy moments with people and animals and pets and things if you're so depressed and so sad over the loss. You can't honor their memory, and you can't enjoy the wonderful things they brought to you. And that's a journey. That's part of what you learn. If you can learn that it's all right to be upset, but at some point you have to go. You can laugh about moments you have with these people or these spirits or these little energies and animals and pets are important spiritual creatures, and in our next lives, if people, I know churches go, or they don't have a soul like we do, you would be wrong. Actually, they have more soul than most people. So they are there. So anyone that is worried about your pets, Believe me, that's some of the people, that's the first energies they meet when they die. When I was dying, I saw people, but my pets are there as well. Um, there was my cousin's husband who died. Before he died, he kept having near death, and he didn't like people. So he was. They had had these two little dogs named Higgins and Harold, and the several times and he told me this. He said I would be close to death, and you start seeing the visions. Well, he said I would see. They used to live in the country where they had in North Carolina, and they'd have these split rail fences with a gate. And he said the dogs, Harold and Higgins, would be on the other side of the gate, on the other side of the fence, and they'd be running to the gate, trying to get him to come through the gate. And I said, well, they want you to come with them. So when he died, that's who met him, and he was happy with that. He didn't have any people that he cared for. So animals are very important. And actually, there are some Indian beliefs that are like, that's who you meet the first. You have to go, the first people you meet as you go over the Rainbow Bridge are the animals and how you treated them. And so that's kind of a judgment on, or a thing of your character. How did you treat animals? How did you treat your pets? How did you treat those uh, precious, unconditional, loving beings in your life? So I know when I die, the ones that I have that I love, that I talk to in my prayers and talk to, that were so special in my life and that are special in my life now. I have wonderful pets right now, and they're very important. And I don't know why people want to say, people want to say people are the most important thing. So they're saying nothing else matters or has a soul. And that's bull, because we're all have souls, and they have souls, and they have more than enough care and love and attention. I wish people were more like animals in that sense, to where they know if you're good, or they know, if an animal don't, I mean, if a horse or a cat or a dog don't like you, there's something wrong. And sometimes, or it can, they know people, and it can also be, circumstances, but animals are very important. And when I die, I know I'll be back with the ones that I love that love me. And I've said before, if there aren't any animals in heaven, forget it. But there are. So it'll be okay. So in the afterlife, there are plenty of our babies, and but I learned from the animals' deaths and the loss, because when they would die, when I was little, I would just I was alone, and I didn't have anyone to lean on until, I was in my later teenager years, and then started making friends in high school and junior high, and starting getting people who cared outside of my family, because my family really didn't care. And if they could do something to hurt me, they would. My mother just had so many issues. I loved her. She loved me in her own way, but she, whatever dad said was the golden rule. And when he wanted to hurt me or something to make me tougher, she just would go, oh, well, he said it'd make you tougher. You need to be tough. You're a boy. And so I am a tough person now. I've had to have people cross me to find out, but to find out, where my line is. But I'm glad I didn't let my father, when he was little, he was a sweet little boy, and his mom ground that out of him. She hated weak, soft people. She hated everybody anyway. But I thought they never ground the love that I have, the unconditional love. If I love somebody, boy, I love them. If I love an animal, I love it. If I love something, I have a piece of furniture I love pretty good, you know. If I love someone, it's direct. It's just like the cats or the dogs. I just am unconditional. Now, if it's the same kind of thing, great. If it's not, now with people, what you have to do is you have to give leeway. You can't do that with people a lot because, some people are takers and some people can't handle unconditional love. And so that's okay. You have to let them show you, but don't put it on people. You have to do it in varying degrees, make sure make sure they know you're there and give it time. And if they prove to be open to it and it's a right circumstance and the right person's, then you can throw it spaghetti at the wall. But give it time. Don't just do it off hand. But there are people that I may, if I just know them, I just feel like I know them all my life. And I have several friends, that I just, I'm there. If you need me, I'll, at 2 in the morning, call me. You may not get to talk to me for 6 months, but when you do, you know that I'm there for you. You know that I love you. And I learned that lesson from death. Um, Let me think. I had a dear, 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 dear friend, Lester. When I was attacked, he and his partner were the first people came to check on me. They were in the hospital. They came immediately. They were standing there waiting for me. Um, my mother came because I've been attacked, and they were called to come be at the hospital. My father didn't bother to get out of bed, and my mother had to get her brother to bring him because my father refused to bring her to check on me to make sure his child was dying in the hospital. So she had to come. Somebody else had to come get her, you know. But my friends were there for me. And after I got through the hospital thing, did the near death experience, and had to go to the court problem because then it had become a federal case because these people, I was just going up a sidewalk going to visit someone. They just decided to attack. And it wouldn't matter who it was, but I was so skinny. They just thought they could kick that, and they did. And it became entertainment. They got caught up in it, and they got carried away. And 15 minutes of stomping me, they killed me. You know, and so the feds got involved because it was at a time like now with the hate at a thing, and the way it became a hate crime was not because I was gay at that time. What happened, one of the roommates who was with me, who was real helpful, but they were standing back while these guys were attacking. But one of them did say, don't do that. He has he has Marfan's. He has, he thought it was a bone disease. He said, he has a bone disease, and I have a connective tissue disorder, but that's splitting hairs. And they went, well, he must have AIDS. And so they attacked me, crushed me, which I don't. And they crushed me for 15 minutes, even if I did. They didn't have a right to touch me, didn't have a right to attack me. And because they did that, it became a hate crime. So it became, the feds got involved and all this. And I had to go through, just, you wouldn't believe what I went through. So these friends, Mark and Lester, helped me through this. And I was such a ditzy, goofy person because I didn't have any confidence. I didn't have self awareness. I was very funny because I had become a clown to be accepted in school. And I had a very funny sense of humor, and they loved me. They thought I was very a hoot. But they thought I was pretty dumb, and I was in certain areas. I probably was. Probably what saved me out of a lot of stuff. But they were so good. They were like, we're going to help you. We're going, I mean, Mark, while I was dying, the police weren't doing anything about it. So, arresting these people. So, he had 350 people call the police department. And all of a sudden, the feds got involved because they thought, oh, the public's looking. And because I know friends who were attacked, that the police would say, "Ah, go home, get over it. No, we're not going to pursue this." Well, the feds got involved and they had to. So Mark got in on it and got all these people calling the police department, and then the detective got on it, and then he started connecting with my mom and got my mom involved in catching these guys, and they caught them because they were stupid and they told on each other. One of them turned, and I mean, all the detective went to the apartment complex where this happened and was hanging around acting like it, with a beer, and met this guy and started talking, and the guy's, "Oh yeah, we beat him." Click, put the things on him. Then they got him to turn on the other two. So, dummies. They were brutal, beefy morons. But so Mark had started the ball rolling. You know, I was scared about being able to fight these people in court, but I wanted to. I really wanted to. So they talked to me and they believed in me and they showed me how to stand up for myself. Now, not my parents. My parents wanted me to let it all go away and not embarrass them, and Mark and Lester gave me my spine of steel. I haven't. I really do have one. And I went to court. I impressed the judge. I impressed I had to hire another lawyer just in case, and that was just like having a being a one-legged man in an ass kicking contest. Because he was somebody my mom knew, and I borrowed the money, paid for him, and I had to pay that back to the person to my father who did loan it to me because they wanted me to have this lawyer. Well, the lawyer was the reason they did that is they wanted that lawyer wanted to protect their interest in it, keep them from being embarrassed. And so that lawyer was a waste of money. But the FBI, the feds, gave me a lawyer, and he was great. Once they realized I wasn't stupid, and that I meant business, because they asked me, "What do you want?" I said, "I want justice." They said, "Well, the justice system doesn't work. So, they just want you to shut up and go home." And I said, "Well, they picked the wrong person." So when I did that, they got behind me. And Mark and Lester helped me. I still had to go and do it and stand up here. And those three guys had a lawyer apiece. I was grilled. The thing people don't realize is when you're a victim, you have to go against the criminal's lawyers. And I was grilled by three lawyers, and I had my main one. I ate them like crackers. I was really shocked, but I was sharp when I went in. I mean, because it was the fight of my life. They had put me through so much, and they had threatened me while I was in the hospital. And when I got out, they tried to scare me, and I thought, no, you're not doing this. And other people I knew, I was the first one who won my case in Chattanooga of my type. Hate crime ones. And it wasn't the first hate crime case. It was just the first time somebody went to court and went through with it and won. And against all odds. And I owe that to Lester and Mark. And my mama helped me after she got on the program. She did help me, but they helped me. They were there. And it was just incredible. And afterwards, I got an award for, Person of the Year through oh, I had to think about it. A special um, LGBTQ rights group, Pride. And so I got a Person of the Year award. I got that kind of thing. But and I had to go to a big dinner, and give a speech. But a lot of those people, the ones that were the leaders, they had come. They were trying to be opportunistic in a way. And when I didn't do what they wanted, then you know, I decided to do it myself. But I did it myself with my two friends. I went in, dressed up, did my thing, kicked butt. It was great. And Lester and Mark died a few years after that. And I remember one thing he said that people would take it wrong, but I understood how he meant it. But I was goofy. It would be real hard for people to know what I was like, but I was real funny and goofy. And I think that he thought he was so intelligent, but he liked me. He loved me, but he just thought I was just a moron. And he was like, you know, it, it was the story that I'd gone through. He was like, it's such a great story. It's just a shame you lived. And you know, but I understood what he meant because I think he thought that's all I had to offer. That was my crowning glory. That was it. That was, I wasn't going to do anything else. And at that time, I really wasn't going to do anything else. I didn't know what. I was starting from scratch. The plane had crashed, and I had just climbed out of the wreckage and was starting. And by the time he died, I was just starting. And I loved Mark. But that was, I learned a lot about life through these people before they died. Now, Lester, who went on for a few more years, 5 more years, and I really learned wonderful lessons from that the lessons I learned from him, I put into my life in a very physical way. Lester was a doll, an angel to me. He was a doll. And I love to go visit him. I used to go. He was a performer, a drag performer, and I would go and watch and basically when I did later on when I did charity work and I did charity for raising money for AIDS. I would do Patsy Cline imitations, which it would be very funny for y'all to see that. I may see if I can find that picture and put in. Uh, but I would go and sit with him in his dressing room, and while he was getting ready, and he was always very classy, very southern, very very put together, wonderful person, wonderful cook, wonderful love. And when I would go see him, I had to knock at my own family's door when I would come to visit after I moved. You had to knock on the door before I would have to. Other people just walked in, but I had to because they made me feel like I couldn't just walk in. My mom wouldn't care, but my dad would. And if he came to the door and I was at the door, he'd go, "Yeah," he'd say something awful, and he hated my guts. He hated to see me come to the door. So, but Lester would open the door and be so happy, and he would hug me, and it was the warmest, most honest, lovely, welcoming experience I could imagine. He was just so glad to see me. Well, in 2002, uh, there was a person murdered him, tortured him, murdered him. This sweet, kind person, Lester. And this monster put furniture on top of him and held him down. And after he'd stabbed him and did things, he was stabbed 26 times and slashed 72. And those slashes were meant to torture. So, left him lying, dying, and he could have possibly been saved if the ambulance had been called, but he left him trapped under furniture, stole his car and his money, and went and got a monster combo meal from one of the local hamburger joints, dumped the car, and went on and wasn't bothered. We all knew who, they knew who to look for him. They found him, but he killed one of the most important lights I knew. And I was devastated. And it was 10 years after my case, so I had PTSD. So when I went to Lester's murder trial, it just put me into PTSD overdrive. And when they show the morgue pictures and the person you love cut up by somebody who didn't give a damn and who would do it again, and whenever they get out, they had, ooh, and going through that trial, where see they have been with me through my trial, so I was there through theirs, through that one, and I saw how they treat the victims. And those who've had family members murdered or raped or any of that stuff, you will understand. They victimize the victim to try and get the criminal off. They will come up with lies. They will come up with whatever. They will do what it takes. To them, it's a game. And like they said to me, the justice system does not work. There is no justice. There is some in small degrees, but you have to make it happen. But I saw how they treat victims, and especially if you're a person of color, happen to be gay, happen to be an entertainer. This is before RuPaul and all that, where everybody kind of accepts it now. There are a lot of people who believe, you should be dead if somebody kills you because you're gay. Oh, okay, I got it. I've had people do that, and it's like, no, you don't got it. And these are people. These are human beings, usually vulnerable human beings, and I saw what they did. And I saw what people, one of the prosecutor warned us beforehand. They said the guy that's going to be defending the killer, don't hold the lawyer responsible. He's a good guy, but he's got to do his job. The things that man did, if that's what you can do, and they laugh. They'll do these things. They scream at each other in the court. All these lawyers go after each other. Afterwards, they slap their backs and go eat lunch and laugh. And the one who defended the murderer, the slime, that man crawls in. He's not a good person. He tried his best. The person he was defending was found guilty, but the things that they dove in and rolled in And there was a part where, they had a person in there that it was obvious. The guy admitted he lied. So it backfired on them. They got someone in there to tell a lie. When that guy saw us sitting in there, saw me, saw several of us sitting there, he cracked. He went, "Oh, no, 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 no. I know these people. I'm not, I was going to lie, but I'm not going to because I have to run into these people again." And it backfired. But that guy tried to use dirty tactics. And I saw them try to smear a beautiful person. And, they won his case for him. And the guy was in for 35 years. He should still be in jail. And not remorseful at all. He wanted to kill just to kill. He really wanted to see what that was like. And then afterwards, when I said he took the car, he got a monster combo meal to have a meal because, like an animal, when it kills, it can eat the victim. He couldn't eat Lester, so he had to eat something. So he was satisfied, and he was satisfied, and he went home, and he didn't think anyone would ever care. And he said that. He said, "Well, just another gay person." So, and that was that to him. Lester was an incredible force to me. So, and so many people affected by him because he really was wonderful. And I learned a lot from his death. Um, One of the wonderful things I remember was the warm way he would treat me, and I missed him. I just missed him so much, and I missed going to his door and him welcoming me in, and welcome me, in a way that made me feel whole, made me feel like somebody cared. So now, when people come to my house, I do the same thing. I pass it on. I let them know, and my friends who know I love them, they know I love them. And when I'm gone, I hope they miss that a little bit. I miss Lester's, and it took me a long time. But in 2019, I went to a James Bond Prague um, thing that he was doing here in Florida, convention. I'm in a psychic fair, and he was like a guest of honor. And he put us through a meditation, and during that meditation, because I do this to other people, but sometimes you have to have someone else do it for you. And I did it. I let it rip, and I had the experience. And what happened during the experience, what during the meditation, is Lester came to me, and he was beautiful and dressed beautifully and looked like he was black, so he just looked like he was made out of honey. He looked like light showing through honey. He was beautiful, and he hugged me, and we had a simple exchange. And at the end of the experience, the vision, when he was getting ready to turn and go back, we were down the road from in the vision, just down the road from where he lived, where he was murdered. And he's turning. He had a little beret on. He was all dressed like he was just out for a walk. And he was getting ready to turn. He says, "Do you want to go? Are you going to go with me?" Which meant, spiritually, die, go on. And I said, "I'll see you later, but I love you." And said, "I love you too." And he turned, and it changed my bitterness, my anger, my hurt. I'll never stop missing Lester, but I know he's there. I know he's okay. When I saw that he was okay, I think that's what hurt me the most, is that this person had hurt him. And but his spirit's fine. And Mark's spirit is fine. Mark was an atheist, but his spirit's okay. He wouldn't believe in this stuff, but his spirit's okay too. So I learned from Lester's death that the love that he showed me, and he didn't like me being sad over him being gone, because the more that I couldn't let happiness in about him. If I thought about him, it would, you know, and I could, I, I lost the happiness, and I had to refind it, and I found it. Now, when I was in junior high and high school, I started dating a girl named Kim, and we dated for 6 years. And right out of high school, we broke up. She was manic depressive, beautiful girl, loved her, adored her. She was the funniest person. She was somebody I was very close. I did become close to in my uh, late teens, early 20s, and she killed herself. Took me off track for years, made me so I don't even know what to tell you. I don't even know what to tell you. But um, but you know, 8 or so years ago, she was reincarnated, and I found out who that. I know who that is, and I went, she's fine. She was in a terrible circumstance when she was alive, and now she's happy, and her parents love her, and I think she'll be. I told the mother, who's very close to me, she knew who this was when I talked about it, and I said, "Now, when she gets to be a teenager, she's going to have chemical imbalances, and now they have the medicines to treat it. They didn't then." She says, "I'll take care of it." So we know it's covered. So I'm I can think of Kim now without pain. But she had one of the funniest people I ever met. Had this wild, crazy personality, and I was such a little nerd and everything. She just brought me out of my shell a lot, and I learned a lot from her death and her life. I learned more from her life. Um, I learned from Lester and Mark's giving natures, but the lesson that death teaches you is to live. And when you're starting to die, if you have enough time to really think about it, like I did, because when I went to the hospital and started dying and did the near death experience twice, what happens is you learn death makes you more alive because, you're the most aware. We take for granted that our heart is beating and that we're living. You just get up, you brush your teeth, you eat lunch, you go home, you work, you do this. When you're dying, every second counts, and you're very aware that any moment it's going to switch. And all of this that mattered, is going to be over. And the next part of your life and existence is in the consciousness. So, but you're never more alive when you're close to death. Take my word for it. And it is crazy, crazy. The things that you do learn. The importance of being present, the importance of now. The past is there and you remember it and you're affected by it. The future isn't here yet. What you have is right here, right now in this second. You have to make it count. Because what you're going to do tomorrow, you may not be here tomorrow. When life changed for me, I mean, I was walking up a sidewalk, getting ready to go and have a night of fun and saying goodbye to another friend who was leaving town. I didn't know I would be fighting for my life in seconds. Boom. My life changed. Lester didn't know this person that he thought was a friend was going to stab him 27 times, slash him 72 times, steal his money, leave him dying, leave him bleeding within seconds. And unfortunate for him, I was in Atlanta, but I thought of him that day, and I thought I'll go see him, but he wasn't. I thought, oh, he's working, he won't be home, and he was off that day. So I might have seen him, but then I wouldn't have been able. You can't change other people's destiny. Nobody could have changed my destiny. This was things I had to go through, and that just was the way I really see it. Sometimes it's not necessarily that everybody has a number, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I couldn't have changed what was going to happen. I couldn't have changed what was going to happen to me. I couldn't have affected what happened to him. Now, I gladly would have let them kill me and let Lester live because I really felt like Lester, I loved him so much and he had so much to offer. I would have sacrificed myself for him in 2 seconds. 2 seconds. But that's not what it was meant. That's not how it goes. And likewise, if he had been there when I was attacked, I had two roommates with me that were mill workers. They were really like a bag of hammers. They didn't do anything. They were scared. Everybody was watching and being entertained, and they were afraid. Well, it isn't us, so they didn't get involved. Lester would have been involved. Lester would have cracked some heads. There would have been a different outcome if Lester was there. If it were Lester and myself, but it wasn't. But I had to go through what I went through. I learned so much from my death and from my living. And death, when I was getting close to dying, it was so wonderful. When you start, I mean, the death part was hideous. The dying, I was going through a thing where they were quit feeding me, so I was starving. My family wanted me to go ahead. My mother and father were like, this is going to be embarrassing. Let him die. So I was going through such a strange thing. I thought family is supposed to be there and be right there. And later on, my mother was, when I dragged her into it, she finally was. She did turn the corner on a little bit. But during the process when I was dying, everybody, did their, hey, have a good one, left, lying there, torturing, dying, twisting, pain, fear. Knowing I was alone, knowing nobody, that my family would rather me die than deal with me, but they didn't want me to begin with, so it was okay for me to die. I wasn't the important ones, and I wasn't. And the loneliness was the hard part for me. And what I learned off of that, there's friends and people I've sat with while I die. If somebody's dying and they want something, by God, I'll go across the desert to get it for them. I was hungry, I was starving, they were starving me. I asked family members to bring me food. Nobody brought me food. They knew I was hungry. They didn't bother. They thought, well, he's dying. Go ahead and die. You know, they didn't. When I asked directly, I asked my mom, bring me what to bring me specifically, and because there was something real close to them that was in particular I was craving because I was just starving, and they wouldn't. They just were like, well, he's dying. He don't know what he's talking about, and that kept that. They just wanted me to die. At that point, my mother changed after a point, but she was being influenced by my dad, who was like, "Oh yeah, this is great. Let him die. Get him out of the way, so I don't have to deal with that." And I learned from death. I learned if there's someone I know that's dying, they need company. If they want company, I'm going to be there. If they need a hand to hold them while they're, because it's scary, you don't know what this is like. Now, we've been through it before in past lives, in reincarnation sometimes. But even though, see, this is all we know. So it's scary. So it's okay to be there for someone if they want it, and then if they don't, or if they're sometimes someone sitting with someone who's dying will keep them from going. So sometimes you need to let them go. You need to leave the room and let them go. But then there's some people, they want someone there just to feel like they have someone while they take the next step. Now, when I went through the death process, it became beautiful, and you see the people, and you see they call you, and the lights and everything, and it's fabulous. Um, so it was fabulous, really. And then I came back because it wasn't time for me to die. But if it had been, I would have been just fine. But I learned so much from near death and came back from it. And then I was like, okay, let's get real. Okay, what really matters? Because I wasn't ready when I died. I didn't know what to do. I'd been taught I was so dumb and stupid that I didn't know what to do in life. So I bought the story that I was stupid and I had to make myself smart. I was smart inside. I just had to bring it back to the surface and believe it. Because I'd been around the wrong influences, people telling me things who they were unhappy with their lives. So their unhappiness, they used that on me. And it was, I thought, wow, people hurting you because of, they, they're hurting you with their hurt, but they're enjoying you hurting. So I'm very aware of people when they try that anymore. You can kiss my double wide psychic ass. But if you don't like it, kiss it. But I I learned so much. It was like I woke up when I came back. I went in, I won my case. When Lester died, I went, okay, you can be sad, but you have to, what did you learn from this person? What was good? What, what, what do you need to know out of this person? And each individual person I've known that's died, when they, you know, what was the condensed feeling I got from knowing them? Because you knew them for a reason. And so I learned what I did. I learned from Lester about love and showing love and welcoming people and making them understand that no matter what, I love them and I'm so glad to see them and it's okay. And I want them to And if something happens to me, if they miss seeing me or miss coming over, that's a good thing because it meant it was a good thing. But they need to recreate it in their life, pass it on. The thing from Kim, she was so depressed and so bad, but she laughed all the time. And let me tell you what, laughter gets me through life more than I could ever say. Mark taught me about being an elder and more intelligent and lending what you have to those in need. And my mother, I love my mother. Now, my mother was a pill. My mother gave me trouble up until 18 months before she died. She gave me real trouble that I just can't even cover. Let me tell you. But I went and I made sure. Now, when my father died, it was terrible. It was awful. And, 6'4", brute kind of thing. And when he started dying, it took a month for him really to die. He was having heart trouble. He went out. He always was tough. I'm going to die with my boots on. So he went out when he had a heart attack. It was real late at night in their house. So he was having a heart attack. He thought, I'll drag myself outside and die out in the house. So, and she has to sell the house. She won't be so, people won't be so creeped out. So he dragged himself out on the porch and the mosquitoes, it didn't die. So the mosquitoes started eating him. He goes, well, maybe I need to drag myself in. You have no idea. This person was like the living dead. And, it took us 3 days to talk him to go into the hospital because you can't force somebody if they don't want to go. And they finally took him. Well, we got him in there, and as soon as mom left, he started pitching a fit. And I had to come in there and watch him. And he had a cane. He beat the nurse. He whacked me. He knocked my arm out of place. He was being awful. And I was devastated at the time. And it got me. At first, I didn't know what to do. And I called the home, and one of my oldest brother came and was chewing me out because they didn't think I knew what to do. And he went there, and my dad gave him a few minutes of it, and he came running out. I'm going home, and he went home. And but I understand it because my dad was being very ugly. And he knew how to be very ugly, and he was being gross. So I said, enough of this. And I walked in there, and I don't normally act the way I do to a person who's sick, but I cussed him out, told him, Mom, he's trying to kill mom, trying to kill, I said, you're not taking mom with you. So I said, straighten your ass up and straighten up. And, ooh, I took his stick away from him. I said, you get in that bed and you behave. They're going to send you home and you'll die at home. And mom doesn't need you to die at home. You need to be here being taken care of. And he was so mad that somebody told him what to do. So he looked at me real mad. And he got in bed and went to sleep. And in the morning, when they came in my mom came, and they go, "Shh! Don't you wake him up. He, he was a wildcat last night. He kept, don't you wake him up." And he woke up and he couldn't remember why he was mad at me. He just remembered he was mad at me, and it was hysterical. But I took care of him, and I fed him his last meal. And toward the end, he got to see I wasn't such a bad investment, I guess. But I took care of him because I felt like for my morals, it was the way I felt, and I took care of him, and I feel good about the way I treated him, and I fed him his last meal, and took care of him, and made him comfortable, and he was okay. And when he died, he went boop. And my mother, I took care of my mother at the end, 2 weeks, and and it was not what I wanted, but I had to accept it. And we had a nice little exchange. The last part, before she died, the last few days, she had a real bad temperature, and it burned up her brain, basically. But the night before that, she woke up and she was scared to die. And I don't want people to be afraid of dying. That's why I was there. And I explained it to her, and there was a picture of her brother. Her brother had been dead since he was 25. You know, he'd been dead 60 years at that time. And I had done a portrait of him. And I brought it and I hadn't showed it to her. And I said, I'll have this just in case if she needs something. So she was like, she had been seeing and talking to her dead sisters because my mama was really scared. And she's going, Becky and Red are here and they're talking to me. And I asked them if it hurt to die. And they went, no, it doesn't hurt to die, which it doesn't. Because once you're out of the body, it doesn't hurt. And that was the truth. And she thought it did. So she was talking to them and all this. And she was like nervous. And so this was the last conversation. I knew this would be the last one we had. And I said, I have a little gift for you. And I put this picture of her that I'd done of her brother. And she said, oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good. And she knew it was, she appreciated it. And the very last words she said to me was, you're always a sweet little boy. And I thought, the way she said it sounded like I could have been like her nephew, you know. And I said, well, I have to accept that. That was nice. I'll accept that. And I said, I love you, Mama. And, you know, she loved me too. And then she kept holding on, though. Her brain burned out with the fever, but they said she's holding on. She's waiting for somebody that hasn't calmed. I said, I know what I'll do. So, and she said, get him to call her. So she hadn't, my oldest brother hadn't got to come. My sister and her challenged children were too emotional. They couldn't handle it. So I called them. I told my brother what to do. I said, she needs to just hear you tell her you love her and it's okay. And he did. When I called my sister and my nephews, she talked to they talked on the phone. But when my sister said something, because she was the most worried about my sister. And there's good reason, because we're still having to take care of my sister. But, you know, we have made sure she's okay. It's been 6 years, but she's okay. But my mother, when she heard my sister, she went, and I knew that was it. That was what she was wanting to make sure they were okay. And that night she died. And the nurse said, I wish more people would do that. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to do that, but they wait for people sometimes. So, and she was waiting to hear from them, and I facilitated that. I very much believe whatever it takes, you know, do it. Be there. Those who are dying sometimes need comfort, company. They're scared. Even if you're ready for it, you can be scared. It's because we don't know. We haven't been on that journey in this life. We have before, maybe, but not in this life. So I learned through all the people I've had to sit and watch die and that I've helped in their crossing over. I tell them it's not, don't be afraid. It doesn't hurt. It's wonderful. The body's going to do what it's going to do. But once your spirit goes, the body's going to do its thing and it's going to do what it's got to do. It's got to stop. But even though it stops, the spirit has just moved on. The consciousness, the people are still thinking. They're still functioning, they're still being, and you really are more alive when you're in that because you're just a vibration, you're a frequency, you're fantastic. It was the best I'd ever felt. I've been in chronic pain most of my life, but I've really been in chronic pain since my attack because they stomped my spine, my neck, my head on asphalt. 15 minutes, three people, 175 pounds apiece. So I have chronic pain, and I when you die, you just don't feel that. You feel great. I remember towards my death, the first time when it started, and I was going, I feel weird. And then I realized I didn't feel pain. That was the first time I hadn't felt pain in my life. But because, of course, I was in dramatic pain, broken ribs, collapsed lung, all my organs knocked loose from the sternum down. Oh, arms out of place, hip out of place, just burning, twisting, horrible. Everything stopped. And I felt wonderful. I I felt like I just slid into the most beautiful, warm bath. Just a wonderful, relaxed awareness. And then when the people started, I see them and was getting over my trepidation of what am I looking at. Uh, then I went, oh, you know, this is what's happening, and it's happening, it's happening. And then, I was sitting there because at that time I didn't really know. So, and then when they start calling you, you just feel this wonderful. It's the first time I've ever felt wanted, missed, like they missed me. And eh, the feeling that Lester would give me, that wonderful love, that wonderful hug, that's what I was going into. Like they missed me, they wanted me, they needed me, and I'd been away. I'd been here. I'd left there. I'd been here, and they missed me so much, and they wanted me. I couldn't feel comfortable going. I couldn't even, to my family's house. I couldn't just walk in the door and feel comfortable. And my father's mother, excuse me, one time, my brothers and sisters would just walk in, say, "Hey, grandma," whatever. I did it one time, and they said, "What do you think you're doing? Don't you ever do that, you knock." So they made me always feel like an outsider. I always, I was not welcome. And this was the first time I felt welcomed, missed, desired. So I quit being afraid of death. Now I see I have to deal with physical issues, and I went through an episode not too long ago where, life is tenacious and you have to heed what's going on. But so I look at life like this: I have things to get done, I've got to get it done, and I'm trying. If I get them done before I have an opportunity coming this fall, if what it happens is the near death thing is like it happens every few years for me because Marfan's people are fragile and they don't go very it's just a tenacious, very fine thread sometimes. But because of the damages I've had in the Marfans and just genetics and everything else, I just have every few years it's a real struggle. I had a very bad struggle last year and I made it. And this year, the spirits always tell me, heads up. And before I was killed, they had been telling me, something's coming, watch, 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 watch. And I was watching, but I wasn't as perceptive as I am now because I had to go through the near death experience. But when the attack started, I went, "Oh, no!" Because I knew it was something. I just didn't have a clue where. And but when they tell me, your next chance is when it's close, and if it happens that you go, and if not, then you get more time. So in the next 6 months, I've got to work on trying getting everything done so I can be prepared if that next time is it, or if it's not, if I can move past it. If I can move past it, they said you can make it to 70. So, and if I don't make it, what have I learned? Don't sweat it. Now, I'm putting the pedal to the metal on certain things that I want to just get done. And then if I die, then those things are done. If I don't die, but it's stuff, some of it, it'll all be okay whether I do or don't. But it's stuff that I want to get done. I want to accomplish. I want to be done. So I'm working on that. So I've learned to use death as the signpost. Okay, you know, in 10 miles, I got to get this done. So what am I going to do? Get it done. And if you can't figure it out, you have to figure it out. And there is no, don't figure it out. You can't figure it out. You're going to have to figure it out. And some things may stumble. It takes me a while to find my way, but I'll find a way. And whatever doesn't get accomplished, if it ends, it ends. If it goes on, it goes on. And but I want to enjoy it all. Today I went to one of the strange things of living in Florida. I just live, down the street from the ocean. I'm a very poor person living in Florida, but by gosh, I can go to the ocean in 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. 30 minutes, I'm at the ocean. 40 minutes, I'm in a beautiful portion of the ocean because there's a new little place we found. Buy a little card, go into a private section, kind of. You have to pay for it. And it's just gorgeous. And I thought the color of the ocean, cobalt blue in the deep parts, and the other part, it was just clear. If older people will remember when I say a Coke bottle, it was this Coke bottle green, and it was so clean and beautiful, and the sand was like powdered sugar, and I thought, and I was floating out in the ocean, and I was going, I'm alive. I have a life. I have love. I have actual love now in my life. I have people who love me, who miss me, who love to see me, and I love to see them. I have a very close cousin that's here that me and her are sister, brother. And I have people who really care for me and worry about me, and I worry about them, and I help them, and they help me. And I think, even though you're poor, you know, I have pulled some tricks out of my hat. I'm sitting in a store I created that I have no idea how I got it here. I have a relationship that is beyond my belief. I have people who love me. And there I was floating in this beautiful Coke bottle green water, and just so alive. And I think all of these people that I've known that have gone, not being morose, and I'm like, I'm here, and one day I'll be gone, and there'll be others I know that will be going, he's gone, but I'm here, I'm alive, and I intend to live life forward, backwards, side to side. And the things I learned from death was to live, to get it done. Put that, be happy, love now, love the people you know, let them know you love them, love now, enjoy this moment, live in this moment. I mean, it's okay to have future whatevers. The past affects us, even metaphysically developed, and I'm a metaphysician. I'm very evolved in certain ways. And but all the damage of all the hate, all the abuse, all the resentment of me living when I was little, the things that happen, like, I mean, in my family, they wouldn't put my picture up with the other kids. They made me feel, like, I always felt like, one of those movies where they have this crazy weird thing, hiding in a room. It wasn't that. It was tag. I was it. I just was an extra wart on their butt. So you have all that damage from those people, from your past, from past relationships, from past everything. But that's what it is. You're going to have to always deal with it because it's something we've learned. But you can't make decisions with it. You have to make the decision to love. Nobody tell you how to love. You have to learn to love. You need to love. If you don't have love, find love. If you have users, saw the lamb off. Be confident. If somebody is taking you down, you're allowing it. They may be doing it, but you're allowing it. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to say hell no. It's okay to say hey to the no. It is okay to stand up for yourself. It is okay to love your animals and love your children, and make sure your children, they're not pet rocks. Make sure you're connecting with them. You have to be their training wheels, and after they get off of you helping them learn how to ride, if they fall, they have to fall, they have to learn, are they going to get up? You can't save everybody. You better learn to save yourself first before you try to save someone else. Then you can save somebody. If you know how to save yourself, you can save someone else. If you're damaged and can't do it, then if you try and help somebody, sometimes it'll take you down and take them too. You're not helping anybody. You have to learn to get a grip. You can be emotionally, chemically off. We're humans. We have to deal with these things are thrown on us, I think, in a way. So we just, what are you going to do with this? How are you going to treat this? And we just have to, have to. Be sad, over things, but don't let it be your decision making. Don't let someone's death run you. They're okay. You have to be okay in life. One day you're going to join them. We all do. We all go in that great divide, and we make it over there. So don't make decision. Don't mourn. You have to mourn. It's okay to mourn. You have to. You have to mourn the passing of your own life. You have to mourn the passing of your loved ones. But don't let it stop you from living. Remember the happiness they brought, if they brought happiness. If they didn't bring happiness, don't don't let someone's unhappiness stop you from being happy or sharing with someone else. Sometimes I think we feel guilty when somebody we love doesn't love us or treat us well, and then when they die, we feel kids feel responsible for everything. So when someone abuses you, you take that on you. There must be a reason they abused me. Da da da. No, they were abused, damaged people. They damaged you. If they died and they didn't appreciate who you are, you can accept that that's just that relationship. Maybe they couldn't accept anything, or it's just the wrong timing, or it's the wrong thing, or you didn't have the love you wanted. But if you get into a situation where the love doesn't work out and you stay with it, then you already know it's not happy. So you have to find out, what's going to bring you, what's my purpose, and what am I going to do about these people in my life that I've had to just clean house a while back. People that I loved, and they saw that as a weakness, and they're no longer partaking of my life. Your life is a special event, and people need to respect your life as well as theirs and your time. I don't like it when people don't respect my time. I respect everybody's time as much as possible. And I'm old, so of course, and disabled, but so sometimes I'm a little long in getting things done. But I try to respect everyone's time. But if they don't, and they're just wasting your time and their time, let them waste their time on their own time. Do not purposely let someone hurt you and waste your time and then sit there waiting for them to come back and do it again. It's at some point you have to say no. No. I'm just gonna do what I need to do, and I'm better at that now. I always used to worry about, oh, how they're gonna feel. Am I gonna, and they don't worry about me. So if they don't worry about you, you have to be a little callous and say, okay, why am I wasting my time? You know, if someone's abusing you, you're showing up for it. So be more proactive. Be more. Go. Why am I doing that? Or why? What's the real purpose? What's the end game of this? Am I learning something off of it? Is it really helping me? Am I ending up thing? And then too, if you're abusing somebody, why are you doing that? And even though people don't think so, I have seen quite a few people do it for a while and then end up in bad situations. So if you're abusing someone, why are you doing that? You don't have the right to do that. You know, you're abusing yourself as well. Um, but look at your relationships, clean up your relationships, clean up who you are. What's your directive? Death taught me to live. It taught me I wanted to live. I've lived more. I died when I was 30. I've lived more since I was now in the last 32 years. I'm 62 years old. Didn't think I'd ever get there. If I can make it to 70, I just can't imagine what it's going to be like. These people who thought I was stupid, well, I've written 6 or 7 books. I've been in 6 or 7 other books. I make videos. I've got a podcast. I've got other things coming up. I have to say, and this is not tooting my horn. I'm a pretty good artist. I have a lot of art. I'm a good cook. You know, I'm a good person to the people close to me. So I have a lot of pluses, and I feel fairly intelligent at this part of my life. From coming from buying the thing where people thought I was stupid, I bought that. I'm not stupid. I can be vulnerable. I can give people chances maybe that I shouldn't always. I give them a chance. I don't give them as much chances now. If they show themselves to be who they are, if they show themselves to be something that I wasn't seeing or reading, because your life gets in the way, you get busy, you're old, you do whatever. But I don't waste time. If you want to come along on the ride, then and we have things to do together, let's do them. If you don't, I won't. I'm not going to inhibit you. You won't inhibit me. Don't waste my time. I won't waste yours. Time is important because it runs out. It's the one thing as physical cells. As a spirit, it's like there is no time. It's just space and energy and doing. And we are geared with time because we're in a physical self. From the moment you're born until you're dead, you're dying. You're growing. It's like the century plant I've used as an analogy before. We have century plants here. They look like a man-eating plant kind of thing. They look like feed me, Seymour, feed me. But they're these big plants and they're everywhere. And when you'll see one big stalk comes up. That means they're 100 years old. And their one purpose, they have that stem, they shoot out seeds, then 3 days later they're dead after 100 years. That's the way I feel like. I feel like I'm going, when I put up my stem, then I've given whatever seeds of whatever I wanted to give to the world, and then it's over. And that's okay. Trillions of people have come and gone. But this is your life. What are you? You're like a piece of sand, but you're an important piece of sand. They want what you got, the knowledge you make. You're not alone. Even if you're alone feeling here, when you die, you'll find out you're not alone. They know you, they miss you, they want you. And what you gonna do with this time? And for the people who have not been lucky enough to, I guess, go through what I have, understand, you know, the boundaries of life. Let death teach you what I want to get done. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of life. That's my biggest problem is letting worry. And it's like, just do it. Just do it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. It's all right. But don't be afraid of life. Don't be afraid of death. Don't be afraid of life. Don't be afraid of other people's ideas. Don't let your ideas clog you up either. Just try to be an open conduit and say, this is what I want to do. Go towards it. Try your best. And if you fail, you're okay. That's okay. If you tried, and if you succeed, most of us don't know what that means. So try it and see. You never know. It might be easier than you expected. But sometimes we hold ourselves back because we're afraid to succeed. So that's another thing, just we're just beings that are afraid of everything. So just do it. It's like this is be a little bit more open like the pets, be unconditional in certain ways and just say, okay, there's that door. I'm gonna go through it. Just do it. Don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. If it's you go to it and it opens, great. If you go to it and it doesn't open, go to the door next to it. Try that. Something will work. Never give up. Never give up. And you're never alone. And I learned the hard way. There are so many people out there watching us and helping us, and spirits and energies, and they're rooting for us. But it's up to us to make those movements and those decisions. So that's what I learned from death. The lessons I learned from death. What you need to learn is learn your lessons from life. Learn what you want to accomplish, how you want to do it, and what you're going to do. And don't be afraid to succeed. And don't be afraid to fail. Because sometimes something fails to open the door for something else. So don't look at it as failure. Look at it as like the next step. Well, I hope that I was able to convey some of the things that I learned and how I put them into my life and how I put them into action. And I hope maybe it will inspire someone out there to not be afraid to live, to not be afraid to try, to not put yourself down. Don't let other people's perceptions of you put you down. Create your own perception of who you are, your own reality. Don't let them tell you who you are. Let you tell you who you are. Got it? All right, my darlings. Until next week, good night.